Hello, and thanks for staying with us on People, Politics, and Power on Africa Independent Television, the AIT. My name is Okiri Agbonsuremi. Our interrogation of the recommendations of the restructuring, through Federalism Committee set up by the All Progressives Congress APC continues as we chart a course for a united Nigeria. One of the recommendations is independent candidacy. Before the APC proposal, there had been a considerable advocacy for independent candidacy for those who seek elective position. The reason for this agitation for independent candidacy is the obvious lack or a reduced internal democracy in the existing political parties framework. Godfatherism, the financial wherewithal of candidates, the treachery, which have become the underlying factors to vain shadow elections, otherwise known as primaries in political parties. Most of the time, candidates thrown up by the party primaries are accepted by some members of the party, thereby creating wrangling and political parties. This trend creates the obvious situation in which politicians move from one political party to another in search for a fertile ground or a fertile place to ventilate their ambition. Examples are legion, and there seems not to be an end to the change of camps by the politicians. This probably could be curtailed with the allowance for independent candidature. And it is also most probable that a prospective contestant may not favor any of the existing political parties for the reason not far from ideology, trust, or confidence in the confidence in the system. In the United States of America, where the independent candidature is allowed, the candidate prefers to do without attaching him or herself to existing structure, not for want of credible political parties or ideology, but it's just sometimes just sheer preference and interest. How this idea, how can this idea be popularized in Nigeria? The APC's position is in pari materia with the position already, of course, adopted by the two houses of the National Assembly, part of which, indeed, is already transmitted to the state legislature, which also tallies with the Senator Ken Namani's committee report on the electoral reforms. These recommendations seem to be standing on solid ground, if you ask me. The El-Rufai Committee, that is the APC Committee on True Federalism, however, formulated certain criteria which prospective independent candidate should follow. According to the report, the person shall not be a registered member of a political party at least 6 months before the date set for the elections in which he intends to contest. His nominations must not be, his nominators must not be members of a registered political party. The candidate must pay a deposit to the Independent National Electoral Commission in the same range as the non-refundable deposit payable by candidates sponsored by political parties to their parties. And such amount shall be determined by an act of the National Assembly. And the candidate must meet other qualifications and requirements provided for by the Constitution and any other law in the land. With close scrutiny, does this not appear as giving with one hand and taking it back with the other hand? Particularly if the candidate has to pay a fee as if he is paying it to a political party during the nomination process. This fee, which is sometimes prohibitive and which has prevented so many people from indeed seeking candidates, are the reasons why persons cannot take part in political contests in the political parties. Some of the parties have actually waived some of these things for female contestants in the past. To whom is the fee paid? What wisdom does it amount to if the fee is paid to the Independent National Electoral Commission? And let's bring this forward, the question. Let's bring forward the question. Are the voters, majority of whom are not quite literate and residing in the suburb, sufficiently educated and mobilized for this independent candidacy? How far and fast can we tell them the story of the system? And how can we talk about a lowly candidate who reside in the urban center and without a political party logo to him? Questions, and so many questions. We shall try to navigate the terrain, which may be too late in the coming. I hear some people already canvassing that it should be pushed forward and the 2019 general elections cannot accommodate this. Is it possible to accommodate it in the coming elections if the constitution is amended and is so placed? Joining me to speak to these issues are Prince Okorie. We have two gentlemen here. Prince Okorie is the national president of the Association for Public Policy Analysts. And also in the studio with me and joining my earlier guest I've introduced is Matthias Babs Sado, a young politician and a leadership coach. Before we come to the interview, we're going to take you to the National Assembly, and where we have some sound bites of some of the latest events we have, talking about the National Assembly, where the Conference Committee on Electoral Matters adopted an amendment by the House of Representatives of Section 25, Subsection 1 of the Electoral Act. The lawmakers insist that the election scheduled is in order and not contrary to the Constitution. The lawmakers say the move would help the electorate to judge each candidate based on his or her own merit. But let me just welcome my guest. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much.
And let's take that soundbite from the National Assembly.
One, we are upholding the position of the House of Representatives. Unanimously. Is this a true reflection of what has transpired today?
Yes.
Those in support say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
By all our laws in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, extant laws, the schedule for elections is the sole responsibility of the National Assembly. So I would not want us to mix both together, that in exercising our powers as enshrined in the Constitution, we have not overlapped our boundaries by giving schedules to elections.
Are targeting anybody. The basic objective of it is to make sure that Nigerians have the opportunity, without any hindrance or infractions, to vote for candidates of their choice in cognizance of his or her individual qualities.
Of course, you can be sure that the anxiety all over the place will make some persons particularly want this thing to be passed fast because of some of the quarrels in the states, in the political parties. The leader of APC, Asiwaju Ahmed Tinubu, was yesterday named the leader, the head of the team, the committee that will work on reconciliation inside the APC. The governor of Bayelsa State, Serake Dixon, is chairing the reconciliation committee or team within the PDP. Along the line, it is internal democracy. And some members of the National Assembly will be very, very quick to have this independent candidacy clause put there so that they can go on their own and contest if their parties will not nominate them. But let's come to the interview and let's get a background. It is not the first time we are hearing about independent candidature. The last time reverberated during the 2014 confab. Reverberated, and it was actually indeed part of the recommendations. We are not hearing about independent candidature in Nigeria for the first time.
No, we are not.
So, what is particularly new? That there's a new effort?
Yeah, I think particularly what I've seen is the fact that there seems to be a growing awareness across the country, and people are beginning to ask a lot of questions about political processes in the country. And for that reason, the system is opening itself up, because you have a situation where you had previously a system that was closed and could not allow a lot of people express themselves politically in the country. Now, with this massive awareness, particularly on the pages of social media, a lot of voter education, a lot of advocacies is going on. A lot of churches, people are telling people that, look, in the mosque, people are being told, get your PVC, get your PVC. So this is really threatening to the political class, that if they are not careful, the things that they hold, because what they have in their hands is the process. In the process that they take out those that do not fit into their own systems. Now, so if that is being checked, you can imagine.
And with the growing awareness that
yes, it's generating debate. And because I was just telling him, I said, it seems basically what we discussed in Nigeria currently is just politics. And that is the way it is. And it's because the democracy is growing. So a lot of people are getting the awareness. A lot of people are asking questions about, look, this is not an exclusive class. It does not belong to a group of people. So if we can open up the system for other people to participate from different parts of the country, why shouldn't they be open up? And I think that is why you are having it at this level now. Anything you discuss about politics in Nigeria now, once you drop it, it gets a lot of ripples around, because people it's a political debate, or political topics are in the country today are hot cakes. So a lot of people are just, everything that comes out from that place is usually focused on, people debate it extensively because of interest.
Well, let me just quickly tell you before I get to my next guest that you can also watch us live on our Facebook page, live on our Facebook. That is www.facebook.com/AIT.Africa Independent Television. It is also to enable you watch on the go in case you don't, you're not with your TV set. We shall also get your feedback on Twitter account. Twitter at AIT_PPP, and you can also reach us as well on PPP on AIT@gmail.com. We are going to put them on the screen so that you can interact with us, and we are obliged to share those your views. Now let me get back to my guest, Prince Okori. Now we have a task of experimenting with a new thing. We are experimenting with a new thing. We have not had it before. We know it's happening in some other developed societies. We have not had the opportunity for independence in the recent history of Nigeria. I know in the past, during the maybe First Republic, or I wouldn't know, but in the recent time, it's something that the crop of politicians we have now have to understand the dynamics.
You see, what is happening now is the dynamics of the system. If you look at the political culture we have, the attitude of the political parties and the politicians, Nigerians are worried and tired of the system that exists now.
The political system?
Yes, the political system. It is not like we want to experiment something.
When you say political system, you're talking about political party system?
Yes,
the structure of party.
The political party system.
The nomination process.
Yes, the practice that happens within the political parties.
Okay.
The level of development. The people have lost confidence in the existing system, the political system. Because, for instance, if you're talking about independent candidacy, a lot of factors come into play.
Yeah.
One, if people are expressing fear or talking about the money that will be involved, do you know that the average politician, before you emerge as a candidate in a political party today, the money you spend on all the ESCO of the parties, and in the first place, who are even the ESCO members of the political parties at the world levels? If you check the ESCO members of political parties at the world levels, most of them can't even define politics. They can't even define politics. They can't even define budget.
They are mostly sponsored by these people who want to be
what we already have is an indirect independent candidacy in most of the parties. A situation where one man influences the emergence of the chairman of the party at the ward, the ESCO of the party at the ward, influences the leadership of the party at the local government, influences it at the state level, and then wins the election. And then begins to choose his commissioners and people that work with him from his family. Choose them from his immediate friends and family. You don't even see the political parties trying to control the people that emerge as leaders under their platform.
Because they were invariably subjected to the influence of these
No, because these people cannot even talk. Because in the first place, you would expect that those who should get into politics are people who are knowledgeable enough to even understand what politics is all about. For instance, how can somebody be a politician at the ward, local government or state level, and he has never seen the budget before? He doesn't know what is contained in the budget. Yet the person is a politician. And then what is politics outside budget? Because you're talking about acquiring power to influence or for public good. If you acquire power, allocation of values is related with politics. Now, if you don't even know what is in the budget or how the budget is done as a politician, how do you allocate values to your ward or your local government or your state? So you now see a situation where even people that are elected to the National Assembly personalize projects that are put in the budget by government. You provide a borehole and you go and tell the people that you are the one giving them borehole. You won't even say that government is providing it. You will build a road, you say it is you. So you personalize every goddamn thing. You see a situation where in some states, you use the state money to buy vehicles. You put your picture on the vehicle and write your name there. So what is the different thing there? The thing there is just remove political party and let him contest on his own. Because what is happening is that he buys over everybody. A situation where during primary election, somebody will buy one vote with almost $1 million naira.
Now, are we directly dragging ourselves into making it official?
Of course.
Because if we are saying independent candidature, are we actually indirectly saying what we have been doing unofficially, let us do it officially?
That's my understanding.
So what's the merit?
My understanding here is that if you make it, because even the bickering will reduce. Why you see bickering in most of the parties, where you see this challenge of internal democracy, one person hijacks the leadership of the party. If you call it a political party, every member of the party will have contribution to make. Yeah. You share both the liabilities and the benefits of the party. But you now win election. Only you determines who will be this, who will be that, who will be that. In some states now, only you, as the governor, produces the chief of staff. You provide the minister that comes from your state. The person who is in charge of motor parks is your brother. The person who is in charge of institutions is your. I mean, you do everything from your own immediate family. So what is the essence of the political party? Okay. A situation where even the party chairman cannot call you to order. You do whatever you like. And the party is just that.
Now his views raises the question of whether we begin to see sanity return to existing political party if we have a platform now that accommodates people who are ordinarily not satisfied with the party structure or the processes, who can now on their own fulfill all the processes. Will it indirectly begin to sanitize the political system, like he said the political system is fluid?
I think if you look at it, truly we need something that can change the system. And for us to be able to do this, we have to be deliberate about it. We cannot, for the sake of the fact that there happens to be irregularities, this is going on currently being practiced by the political parties, and then we say, okay, fine, this is how it has been, and the introduction of independent candidacy can correct some of these things. I think fundamentally we need to begin to look at generally our leadership recruitment processes in the country. Because if you look at these things intentionally, you discover that, like my brother said, there are a whole lot of ills in Nigerian political space today. you have majority of people that today call themselves leaders in the country that don't even know what it means. He talked about budget. They don't even know what it means to be a leader.
I was actually going to say that when you even talk budget is a very technical document.
Yes.
We are talking of the manifesto of the party.
Exactly.
Manifesto of the party. I mean, how many party members understand the manifesto of their political party?
A lot of them see this political process as a business in the country. So people that are in their farms, or people that just think that, okay, we cannot survive in an enterprise world, all we need to do is to turn business, leadership or politics into our own enterprise. Business. And you then have a whole lot of people that, because it's about somehow, if you look at it in the country at the moment, it's been limited to, okay, how much people are arguing about this at the base. Who are the people talking about this at the local government level? Who are the people talking about this at the state level? Who is you have the whole place infiltrated by thugs and people that
now let us look at the costs. Let us look at the cost, because you actually started it by saying that if you take a look at the structure we have now, the prospective candidates who will run the 2019 elections are already spending money from the base, from the ward level. They already do sensitization, influencing decisions, in order for them to be able to get what is the cost? Will it be different from an independent candidature? Because the APC committee has rolled out certain conditions, and cost is also there. Now look, political parties, candidates that emerge from political parties, they have deposit they pay, but they are recommending that independent candidates should also pay that kind of deposit, but to the Independent National Electoral Commission.
For you to show commitment and seriousness in what you're going in for, there is need to put some checks. That money could be a way of checking them to ensure that jokers will not just come in and say, I want to run. So if you can stake that money, that means you're serious.
But what about those who don't have money?
But I tell you, listen, leadership or governance is not a tea party. Aristotle said men of knowledge should go into leadership. Men of appetite should go into business. Men of energy should go into military. But what we see in Nigeria today is that men of appetite are in business. They are the people in politics, which is very, very wrong. Again, Zik made a statement, Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe made a statement that the intellectually alert controls the destiny of the intellectually feeble. He made another statement that it would be wrong to replace colonial imperialism with our own kind of imperialism. What we have seen is that in the political arena today is such a situation where even if I, as a person, emerge as an independent candidate, I'll be happy. Because of the manipulations that go in.
Supposing you don't have the money to pay.
Which money?
Suppose you don't have the money to pay. I mean, we know we can have associations. The law provides for freedom of association. The three of us can come together, even if we do not register it in court. We are free to associate and work together. How will somebody who is knowledgeable, who believes he has enough acumen, leadership qualities, who is not having the money, are we not going to shut out people who ordinarily can be supported by political parties?
No, we cannot say because if we take money, we shut people out, then we keep the system so open that anybody will just come in. If you really aspire to be a governor, or you aspire to be a senator, that money that you need to pay to show your seriousness shouldn't be a problem. Because if you check those who are coming through the political parties, some of them fund the parties even at the ward level. The money alone that the leadership of the party will take from you, even before you obtain the form, is more than the money will even pay to register your...
Okay, let me take you back, sir. Okay. Let me take you back.
Okay.
I can talk for Alhaji Balarabe Musa, who came in on the platform of the PRP in the Second Republic. I can talk of a university teacher, Professor Ambrose Ali, who came in on the platform of the UPN. These were individuals who were not having money, but they rode on the platform of their party, got nominated, and if these individuals were shut out of the parties and they don't have their own money, I mean, are there no certain individuals who would be shut out in spite of what he has emphasized that we need to show seriousness? How do we take care of those individuals?
I thank you very much. I think one of the things that we need to look at in our political system is that now a funding process. Now, funding process in political system is not something that you must have. What you should have with character is personal. Character is worth on its own. If you have the right network. So, when you decide to say you want to run for an election, you want to run for a political position in the country, the first thing, it's the reason why money has become so important in our political debates today is because character has lost its place. So when you have someone who has character, who has network, all he needs to do is, okay, we are friends. Prince, bros, let us do, I want to run for election.
Yeah.
And three of us come together. I have 30,000, you have 30,000 naira. And the cost of the election is 90,000 naira. And I have 30,000 naira. And we put our money together and you say, okay, look, Matthias, because you have what it takes, I am supporting you.
For us.
Now, that is on its own. And that is how because I've studied elections outside Nigeria. I've seen how political processes are being funded. There's to an extent, even in America, there's a limit to which you can spend your own personal money in the electoral process in the country. So we need to be able to have a system where we can have men of worth come out and say, I want to run. And then from his network of friends, people can come and say, okay, look, we rally around this young man, go there and do this. With 10,000 naira, 2,000 naira, 5,000 naira from different people around the country, you will be able to.
I was actually going to come to that because we have to follow. It's a method. We have to follow it in a way that in the sequence that we understand.
Okay.
Now, in the developed countries you are referring to, there are checks and balances on how you got your money. Mm-hmm. You can't just take money and you just say I'm rich. Mm-hmm. Like in Nigeria, you see somebody yesterday who was poor and today is rich. Mm-hmm. The EFCC is doing a lot to be sure that, because the law setting up the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission empowers it to ask you where you got the money to buy your eyeglasses if you are wearing a $40,000 eyeglasses and you cannot stand it. Yeah. You cannot justify it. Yeah. Now, are we not boxing ourselves? I want to ask, are we not boxing ourselves into a corner where the money bag, will say, Prince Will, I will give you the money, go and contest. And you go and contest an election, and we box ourselves back to the federalism we are talking about. Because you are qualified, you can do it, and you don't have the money, I bankroll everything you do, and you go, is there any way to check this?
My brother, I remember that the National Assembly Committee sometime organized a program, a public hearing on Electoral Debate Commission.
Yes.
Our association came up with a position that it is not the debate that matters. What matters is the attitude of the political class. The orientation we have is important. Boxing us back, front and back, the way you're saying, already, like I told you before, what we already have is a situation where people are operating as independent candidates but covering themselves with political party names. They are not really doing what the political parties have said.
The political parties are not operating the way they should.
But let me tell you, no democracy succeeds if the citizens are docile. The level of docility of the citizens today is too high. That is why we are seeing what we are seeing. But I think that when an independent candidate emerges and people out of their goodwill contributes money to help him go in there, there's an extent to which he can exhibit impunity. But what is happening is that, you see, who makes the political parties? What is the makeup of these political parties, if I may ask? Who are the people? You are in Abuja and you want to run for a position. You go to your community, look for one young man who couldn't travel to anywhere, who is not doing anything. And because he's there at the village, with that ship money he collects, then you now tell him, come and be chairman. He becomes a chairman. You pick the other man, come and be this, and they become that. So whenever you give instruction from there, everybody carries out. Morality is out. So there is moral bankruptcy within our political arena. Now, if independent candidates will emerge, number one, the person will have integrity. And don't forget, in the past, there are people who attended universities whose parents did not have money to train them. But this child will just pass. The children of Panwine tappers, those days, Their father will go tapping wine. Their mother will go struggling for survival. And comes back home to hear the son has passed to go to university. And they have no money. The community will rally around, contribute money to ensure that that child goes to school.
right.
That such a thing can happen in our politics. A situation where people will know they've monitored somebody over a time and seen that the person has integrity, the person has courage, the person has the capacity to really be accountable. They will say, okay, let us send this person to go. But what you see today is the political party has become a covering garment for all manner of anti-patriotic activities to happen. People that are not, for instance, there are people who are in our political parties today who can't even describe the directive principles of state policy. Chapter 2 of the Constitution, where you talk about the rights of the citizen. If you mention it to them, they get angry. Because they don't even believe that sovereignty belongs to the people. They don't believe in section 14(2)(b) that says that the welfare and security of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. Neither do they even believe in section 2(c) that says the participation of the people in government shall be guaranteed. Now, if you want to participate, what they will do is to shut you out.
Shut you out.
Tell me why a senator cannot tell his constituents with the projects that were put for them in a budget in a fiscal year. But what he would do is to go back, call one traditional ruler or the other, dash them money, collect CV of their children, come back to Abuja and maybe give them a job. He feels he has settled his constituents. And then what this traditional ruler will now do is to recruit people who will deal with anybody that want to ask vital questions as regards the performance of that senator. So when you have such a situation, what are we looking at? Is everybody to his own let your destiny in your hands.
Let us interrogate more of the issues, some of the recommendations by the APC. We talk of timing. If there are a lot of people who move from one political party, I can give you like 2-3 governors in the eve of the election, because they didn't get the tickets, they quickly moved to the other. In fact, the governor of Benue State did that magic in the last election. Was not nominated by the PDP. Quickly, he got the APC. But the recommendation by the APC committee is that it should not be an afterthought. You must make up your mind 6 months ahead of time that you want to be an independent candidate. Can the Nigerian political the movement we see, we are talking about the jumping from one political party to the other. How will that tally with this recommendation if it is adopted?
Okay, I think first of all, the idea of 6 months before election being outside the political party before you can declare yourself as independent candidate, I think as brilliant as it is, again, it takes us to the system that we have at the moment. You have a situation where I think that idea, basically it is the political parties trying to defend or trying to secure their own ends, such that you don't come in after we have probably built certain things, certain structures, and then you come to disorganize it. Now, if such disorganization will be to the benefit of the country, why shouldn't it be? So I think if we look at it, the debate as it's ongoing at the moment, what exactly is the interest that is being debated? Is it the interest of power? Is it the interest of those in government? Is it just for people in power or for the benefit of the man on the street of the country? Now, these are the things that I think we should focus on, because really most debates about Nigerian politics, Nigerian governance and leadership in the country has only centered around the people in power. It has never been translated to the man on the street of the country. So if we are looking at a situation where, after today, the eve of election, I discover that, look, I'm not comfortable with whatever we have, the system we have here.
Now, that's actually where the timing is. But we'll continue with the discussion. Let's take a break from this discussion and also go on this interview for a report on the special town hall meeting, which we'll quickly give to you now. The town hall meeting for military and security agencies in Maiduguri. Nigeria's Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the narrative being pushed out to the public on the state of the Northeast must change with a lot of difference. different evidence with what he called the decimation of Boko Haram insurgency. Let's take that and I will come back for the, to continue with the interview.
The Nigerian media and international media.
The town hall meeting, specifically dedicated to the military and security agencies, was convened to celebrate the successes recorded against Boko Haram insurgents who have held the Northeast region captive since 2009. The previous visit of the Minister of Information to Maiduguri, Bama, Kandiga, among other parts of Borno State in 2015 revealed a high level of destruction of lives and properties, with thousands displaced. More than 2 years down the line, a lot has changed for the better. State Governor Kashim Shettima attributes this feat to the resilience of the Nigerian military.
The Nigerian military had gone into deep recesses, into the deep bowel of the Sambisa forest. And these accomplishments were made under the leadership of a Nigerian general of Igbo extraction from Bise in Imo State. Interestingly, these accomplishments were met while the Commissioner of Police in Borno State is another Mbise man from Imo State. So why can't we celebrate Nigeria?
Lai Mohammed, who led other ministers to the town hall meeting, says the war against Boko Haram is in its last phase and will be driven by intelligence.
The last phase of the war on Boko Haram is on now. The military is punching deep into the enclave of the insurgency, rescuing women and children, and catalyzing the surrender of many insurgents.
Other ministers took turns to highlight the state of preparedness for the post-insurgency rehabilitation program.
Furthermore, the United States has presented letters of acceptance to Nigeria for the sale of 229 Super Tucano aircraft for the Nigerian Air Force. The acquisition of 829 Super Tucano will be a game changer in the Nigerian Air Force operation, especially in fighting terrorism.
There is a need for us to strengthen the process to de-radicalize our youths that have been, unfortunately, been involved in the Boko Haram insurgency. We must start thinking of a process of reconciliation, of building bridges.
The plan has been to start repatriation this month. I don't know how that is feasible, because to repatriate, there are certain conditions which we have to meet.
The challenge thrown up at the special town hall meeting is the repatriation of refugees currently seeking protection in neighboring countries of Cameroon and Chad, to make sure that there is something for them to return to.
Thank you so much for remaining with us. We are still on People, Politics, and Power, and we have Nigeria in focus. Of course, on the program today, we are taking a look at the recommendations. Is it just recommendation of the APC Committee on True Federalism, a subject of independent candidacy in future elections in Nigeria? Of course, not new. We had it in 2014. Even before then, there were private advocacy towards it, that Nigerians should be able to aspire to a position without using the platform of any political party. Now it's becoming deep. We already have a recommendation that's passed through the two chambers of the National Assembly and with the state, and the APC as a ruling party has also come up to say, look, this must be done. But we are examining those things that this suggestion will throw up. The report says the independent candidate shall seek nomination as, that is, should not be a member of a political party 6 months to the election, 6 months to the time that he should declare himself or opt to use that option of independent candidature. The other point is that those who are going to nominate him should not be members of any registered political party. And that there should be a fee chargeable, and which fee shall be paid to the Independent National Electoral Commission. We'll take it one after the other. We have taken the issue of the timing. Now we say those who will nominate him should not also be members of a political party. Is there anything that is particularly wrong with this?
Well, there's nothing wrong with it. However, and the question now would be, how do you get those who will do the nomination? What is the process of
They must be people who were not in any registered political party.
So how then you can probably just go on the streets of the country, and then what is the number, what is the required number of people that would be needed for this man to be deemed nominated? What are the constitutional requirements that he needs to fulfill for him to become a nominated candidate? Those are the questions, those are the gray areas that this report did not address. But in my thinking, I'm looking at the situation where if truly we want to adopt an independent candidature, we'll probably be looking at someone who would have to satisfy at least minimum of 25% of the entire registered voters population that would nominate him.
From his constituency?
No. It depends on what you're running
for. Depending on what you are running for.
If you are running for
a Senate, it to be a district.
But if you are running for the entire country, then you should be
the whole country
for your constituency. So I think that should be what would be looked at. And then if
is there any template to look at with this regard? Any template exists anywhere?
For me, before I talk about the recommendations they've made, you want us to discuss, I want to observe this. The APC is the government in power now.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried in Nigeria when we have problems. Rather than address the problems, we'll always look for a shortcut and still end up having the same problem. Take, for instance, public sector organizations were being messed up in this country. Rather than find out those that we are messing them up and discipline them, we said we are opting for privatization. The privatization has not worked. Now, why are we even talking about this independent candidacy now? Because number one, the level of bribery in the political system, in the electoral system, the level of bribery. And funny enough, you just mentioned
bribery within the political...
during elections, the bribery that go on is high. What is the program of Independent Corrupt Practices and the Other Related Offences Commission on electoral bribery? What is the program of EFCC on electoral bribery? They wouldn't tell you this is what they're doing. They're catching this man who is using bribe to do primary election or doing the other one. But what they will do is to close their mouth and keep on. When they win the election.
Do you have a particular process within the political system? I don't actually want us to derail from it, but since you have raised it, do you have a political process that is bribery? We can actually couch as bribery. I will give you an example. I want to be a senator, and I have a senatorial district. Like you rightly said, right from the beginning, I begin to mobilize the people from the ward, hold meetings, town hall meetings, and a lot of other things. And during that course, I distribute rice, I distribute drinks, I see the traditional ruler, I see all those who are around who will assist me to convince everybody. At what point, is there any color? I mean, I will distribute money.
Let me ask you, is there a company at the National Assembly? Is there an industry at the National Assembly? How much is their salaries? Where is this money that is used to oil campaign machinery at the wards and projects are not executed? What is the anti-graft agency
How would the independent candidature solve this?
The independent candidature, when you're talking about that one, why I raise this is that what is leading to people talking about independent candidacy is because of these ills
existing in the polity. Yeah.
Now, independent candidacy, remember, most of the people elected under these party platforms have a certain amount of money they keep sending to the party ESCO. In fact, Christmas is coming. They have a party ESCO at their neck. Party ESCO has one problem or the other they want them to solve at different levels. There are party ESCO members at different levels. They have to. Some of them even have them in their they pay salaries to them
on their
payroll to retain their independent candidate will not want to do such because he doesn't have a political party to look at.
Are you saying that for those who will nominate me, because the question I threw to you is, if we have a particular constituency and we need to do a nomination, I need the number of people. They should not be members of political parties.
That is
Are they going to come from the moon?
No, individuals. There are individuals. There are non-state actors. If you're talking about that, there are non-state actors that don't even want to identify with politics. But they are willing, they don't even want to identify with politics, but they are willing to see that reasonable people with integrity are there and are ready to back them. Within the industry, the private sector organizations, there are a lot of them. Because the political process, the way we have it now, is even frustrating business entrepreneurs. There are entrepreneurs that are not into politics who will be willing to vouch for some people, people's nomination as independent candidates. There are religious leaders who may want to vouch for people to say, go and run for us. And we are not looking for them. There are many people who can sign for them. I'm not against it. Somebody must have to endorse their forms. I mean, because somebody has to be called upon to answer on their behalf, to attest to their credibility, attest to their ability to really perform. So I have nothing against that.
Okay, just lastly, before we come to the other, time is almost going, but just the last point of the recommendation. That money, this money paid by the independent candidature should go to the Independent National Electoral Commission. INEC is an institution that runs on budget. Every year they say this is our budget. Is it for onward remittance to the federation account? And why will it not be remitted straight to the federation account since it's a revenue? Why INEC by their own recommendation?
Well, I think this is a recommendation, actually. Yes, yeah. And I don't think based on the Constitution this can fly. Because if you are looking at the situation where you are asking someone to engage in extra budgetary activities or get funds that are not allocated to him in the first place, I think that is wrong. But it should be question be about spending this money as an individual for you to run for an election. Should this money go straight to the federation account? I think it should go straight to the federation account. However, it is important that we understand very clearly, because from the recommendation here, the parties are still trying to make it look as though an individual, if Princeway wants to run, he becomes a party on his own. So the monies that parties are supposed to remit as a purchase for the purchasing of INEC forms and all of that, he does the same thing.
Okay.
So if that is the process that they are trying to do, I think it might be a process that would, at the end of the day, frustrate even the idea of independent candidacy.
Of course, he has already answered the question partly that, yes, funds can be raised from person states. Where should the money go to? And like you say, if it's treated as a revenue, it should go to the federation.
Let me tell you, INEC is an institution that is equally spending money.
Yes.
Don't forget,
they are budgeted. The monies they spend are budgeted.
Apart from the budgeted money, don't forget that the international community like European Union, DFI, there are many other organizations.
They collaborate with them.
They support them with funds. So if they are supporting them with funds, it means that even the funds they claim they are getting from government may not be enough for them. So if that would mean people paying to their account so that they can use it to offset their cost, I don't think it's a wrong idea. But I don't think we would exhaust this discussion. There should be national seminar or workshop organized either by INEC or National Assembly or whoever.
All right. As we are about to wrap up, we just got the information reports reaching us here indicates that the Kasim Afegwa, you remember him? He's the spokesperson for the former military President Ibrahim Babangida, who was invited by the police over a press statement he issued on behalf of former President Ibrahim Babangida on Sunday, has just left the first headquarters of the police, where he reported this morning after a 2-hour meeting with the officials. Kasim Afegwa told us some minutes ago that what he had with the police was friendly discussion. He said the police apologized for what they described as an apparent communication gap which led to the invitation. I think we'll have a track up.
Actually, I don't think it was really an issue. I think there was a communication gap somewhere, because from what the police told me, this was more or less like a friendly chat, just to, ascertain the veracity or otherwise of the statement I issued. But they told me I didn't write any statement. They told me events have overtaken, you know, the reason for my being declared wanted, and that I should. They are there to serve the people. They are, you know the usual, you know. So, and the final analysis, they apologized to me in a way that they are sorry. They didn't mean to embarrass me, to intimidate me, to harass me, you know, or impugn my character, particularly having known me to be a spokesman to the former president for more than 14 years now and all of that. So it was a friendly atmosphere. They allowed one of the cameramen to come do the, you know, participate in the recording, as well as their own cameraman. And so, and after that they said there's no need for any statement, nothing. I was not under arrest. They made that one clear and all that. I said, but the declaration on television was very disturbing, and that has put my family and my friends under tremendous pressure, you know, and impugn my integrity and my dignity, you know, and well, that is already in court. So I'm going to discuss with my lawyers to give me the necessary legal advice of what to do after this initial interaction with the police.
Well, Kasim Afegwa, the spokesperson for IBB, who had a chat with the police over the long, since Sunday he was invited. But we are going to be wrapping up the program here, but not just without quickly. It was just 30 seconds, a wrap up on what we have discussed. Is it desirable? Is it not desirable? Independent candidature. Just 30 seconds.
It is. It's something that is important. It's something that I think we should give serious consideration. But above all of that, I think it is time for Nigerians to begin to look at the character of men and women who want to serve them, so that going forward we can have quality representation in leadership in Nigeria.
Yeah. Your last take. We are in a hurry to go now.
For me, I want to encourage stakeholders that are really not comfortable with the political party system the way it is now, but who want change to come, to really key into the independent candidacy,
so that they can have a way,
so that they can have their way.
All right,
and get people that can change things for better.
Matthias Baba Sadu is a Convener Hope a platform initiative. He was joined by Prince Free Okori, the National President Association for Public Policy Analysis. Thank you so much for joining me on the program.
Thank you.
And I'm Okiri Agbonsuremi. Let's do it again tomorrow.